the first Friday of the regular season hasn't been boring. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to NFL Total Access, presented by Corona Premier. Lindsay Rhodes here on a wild day in Oakland. Forget what you heard yesterday. Antonio Brown is going to play on Monday.
I'll just say Antonio's back today. We're really excited about that. Ready to move on. He's had a lot of, obviously, time to think about things, and we're happy to have him back. And I know Raider Nation is excited about that, too. All right?
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Monday night?
That's the plan. That's the plan, yes.
That's the plan, of course, as MJ Acosta and Ian Rappaport well know. That was not the plan when we all went to sleep last night. Ian, what happened?
What happened was Antonio Brown showed up at the Raiders facility, stood in front of his teammates with the captains alongside him, and delivered an apology. He told them he was sorry for what happened, sorry for what transpired
over there in Oakland.
Well, Lindsay, the mood today at practice noticeably elevated. Actually, the guys forming a Soul Train line of sorts for a moment before breaking off into their individual periods. But it was after practice in the locker room where the players really started to open up about Antonio Brown's apology and how it was received by the rest of the team. Take a listen.
Just apologize for what he did, and and explain that he wanted to be here with the team, and we accepted that.
Oh, it was sincere. It was definitely sincere. You could tell he was coming from the heart. Every word that he spoke was thoughtful. And then we got up there behind him, and expressed. Our captains got up there and expressed how they felt along with them. So we're very excited, man. Again, have him out there on the field with us, and just to get this all behind us.
Whatever happened a couple of days ago, it is what it is. We're a family. Families argue. They gripe, but all good vibes around here.
Jalen Richard there, the running back, actually expanding on that moment when the captains rallied around Antonio Brown, saying that they had his back and that they wanted to keep the lines of communication open as a family. He said they ended that note by, of course, knocking on wood to make it official. But now with all of this seemingly in the rearview mirror, the Raiders can now focus on their primetime season opener on Monday against the Broncos, which will be, of course, the first game of the season at the Oakland Coliseum.
Thank you, MJ. Quite a few opinions out there about all of this, including from the people at this table, which include Maurice Jones-Drew and Brian Baldinger and Steve Wyche. Is this the right decision that the Raiders made here to let him play?
I think so. At the end of the day, our business is a production-based business, and Jon Gruden and Mike Mayock are only going to get judged and graded off of wins and losses. AB is a phenomenal talent. Now, with that talent comes some issues. You have to be able to manage those issues. But I knew he was going to play on Monday after hearing what Coach Gruden said yesterday. He said AB's a phenomenal player, and we hope that he gets over this. Then we saw his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, talk about the communication. So at least they were talking. And normally when teams and organizations and players are talking, you can kind of work through some issues. But again, AB helps this team be better. He helps them by having double coverage, opening up the box for the running game, which we know Coach Gruden wants to do. He helps Derek Carr by having another viable receiver out there that can catch the ball and do different things. He just makes them better. And as we heard MJ say, the energy is different when he's on the field. We saw that when we were up there in Napa. When he wasn't there, it wasn't the same when the Rams were there. I went back a couple days later, all of a sudden he's around, everyone's hyped and ready to go. So he just brings a different energy and an attitude to that team.
Yeah, he does bring a different energy and a different attitude to that team after everything we've seen. Look at the situation. We could say the energy's different, but they got a ball game in a couple of days that they got to get ready for. They are better with AB. But you know why those guys were knocking on wood because they're with him? Is because now the disciplinary goalposts have moved. They've seen Antonio Brown miss practice, go through this and that, curse out Mike Mayock, have all of these issues, and he still gets to play. Now, we don't know if he's fine or not, but now the other players, guys, know that down the line, if they make a mistake or if they slip up, all they got to do is say, hey, coach, let me offer an apology, and you're not going to fine me too. There are 52 other guys who know that management probably isn't going to discipline them or say things to them because they've let him get away with a lot of things. Whether they let him get away with it, maybe that's not phrased properly, but they are allowing him to play and allowing him to be a member of this football team when there's been a significant disruption before they played a game.
Let me just bring it back to Monday night, because that's what MJ says it's all about Monday night. And I question whether the timing, the necessary precision timing between Derek Carr and AB is going to be there. There's just been so much time missed. And it's a precision-based business. Yeah, it's a production-based business, but your production is based off precision. And these passes, this isn't the designated hitter rule in baseball, where you just plug a guy in the middle of the lineup and he hits home runs. You need the amount of timing. I mean, Vic Fangio knows how to defend a great #1 wide receiver. He had the #1 defense in football a year ago. He knows what AB is going to do and how he wants to get open. I don't know that the timing and precision necessary to find him is going to be there.
So you're not sure we're going to see the AB that they're counting on, that they brought him back to be in Monday's game?
Practice is important, Lindsay. It's important. And you got to build your timing in practice. And if it's not there, it's not going to be there on Monday night.
A lot of strong opinions here. That seems to be the theme where this story is concerned. More than 1.5 million mentions of AB on Twitter in the last 3 days. That is way more than any other NFL player, including the ones who actually played a game last night. Aaron Rodgers with just over 200,000 mentions. Mitchell Trubisky in the 228,000 range. Neither of them, Mike Pettin there, that's the defensive coordinator, had an outstanding game last night. I'm sure got the game ball. Quarterback numbers here. Both hit a lot. 5 sacks apiece for Rodgers and Trubisky. And Trubisky continued to take hits after the game. Packers corner Tramon Williams pouring salt in the wound, saying, "We wanted to make him play quarterback. We knew if we did, we'd have a chance." 254 yards of offense, 46 rushing yards. They had more than a chance. They had a ton of success. How'd they do it, Baldy?
Well, the Packers and Mike Pettin, the defensive coordinator, they played a dime defense last night, Lindsay. They played 1 linebacker, Blake Martinez, and 6 defensive backs all night. And if you look at the tape, I got a couple plays here. There's Blake Martinez in the middle. He played every snap of middle linebacker for him. But they played 6 defensive backs. They matched Chicago's speed. All the plays, MJ, that they love to run the perimeter, they had the speed to defend it. Now, they've been drafting these defensive backs like Jair Alexander at the top of the draft for 2 years in a row, and he played great last night. Defended a lot of passes, that one to Taylor Gabriel. And this one right here, this Blake Martinez in the middle, here's your 6 defensive backs. We called it dime defense, but this is 2nd and 5. This is a rundown. There's never going to add a dime, regardless of the situation. Here, Jair Alexander comes up to play the hit screen on the outside, the bubble. And so here's Tramon Williams coming back to save this touchdown to Allen Robinson.
Play of the game, Baldy.
I mean, that's a touchdown to Allen Robinson down there, and Tramon Williams came and made that play. The advantage of 6 defensive backs and the speed that it gives you, it was a big difference last night.
Yeah, also the communication in the secondary. But you know what else is big for that Packers defense? Because we're going to stick on this right now. The Smith brothers. Okay, we know that the Packers, they've been averse to going into free agency to get talent over the years. But now you get Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. And let's look where they are. That's the pressure that allowed those 6 DBs. Now Zadarius Smith, now there's Preston Smith outside now. He was lining up outside. He goes in, Steve. Disrupts it, keeps his discipline, makes the play. Now let's look at another alignment here with 55 Zadarius Smith, who comes over. He's lined up over the center. He told me after the game they moved him to the 0 technique, the 3, the 5. Somebody was always singled up because of the flexibility of the players that they brought in there up front. MJD, the fact that Mike Pettin, a very creative defensive coordinator, came up with a scheme like this, a scheme we might not see again the rest of the season, to put the pressure on with these athletes. Packers defense is going to be a problem for a lot of teams.
You know, I coach youth football, and I learned from coaching that you need really good players to do some really good things. And you're right, they went in the free agents. But I want to go to the red zone and talk about that last interception. Now, I was talking with you, Steve, and you said earlier in the show, or you said earlier when we were talking, that Tramon Williams has said they ran that play earlier in the game, and they wanted to get back to it. And so the same situation, most coordinators, when they get in that situation, they're going to run the same play that they thought was open. When a safety plays the middle of the field and then runs to the sideline to make a play, that means you had a beat on it. You had the corner outside as well. He's running a corner route. Now, that's what we call China 7. It's 2 under routes coming from the 2 outside receivers. The 3rd receiver closest to the quarterback runs a corner route, or outbreaking route, and you're trying to throw it to the back of the end zone. But when a safety plays the middle of the field and jumps it, that tells me that we know what you're doing now.
But Adrian Amos played in Chicago. He saw this in practice, right? But MJ?
But we talked about a lot of the pieces that the Bears defense lost. They came up and showing up big in this game. Amos coming out with a big interception because he knew what was going to happen, and he knew the tendencies of his coach. A lot of other teams know that as well.
But they got smart players. I mean, they understood the route concept from before when they saw that look. That's what Tramon Williams said. Perfect bracket coverage on that. They should have dumped it off to Cohen underneath and let him make a defender miss.
Tough matchup next week for both of these teams. That Bears offense facing the Broncos with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb and Shelby Harris. Okay, as for the Packers, they've got the Vikings at home. Both of those games are Sunday games. This one is